Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In this video, we will be discussing Pablo Escobar, who's often dubbed as the king of cocaine, and how he was able to build an empire amassing a fortune estimated between $30 billion and $50 billion through the relentless accumulation of profits from illicit trade. We will learn about how wealth, when built over time, step by step, tends to have deeper roots and is less likely to be lost as the builder has gained not only resources but also the skills to protect and grow them. Because even the largest accumulations, when built on shaky ground, can ultimately vanish without benefits. Everything great and worthwhile in human life is an accumulation of hundreds and sometimes thousands of tiny efforts and sacrifices that nobody ever sees or appreciates. You have to put in many tiny efforts before you achieve anything worthwhile. However, the law of accumulation is not only about the slow build-up, it also reveals how quickly fortunes can be lost when not grounded in prudent habits or systems. Sudden wealth often evaporates at astounding speed. According to financial studies, around 70% of lottery winners go broke within a few years. Some reports estimate that 1/3 declare bankruptcy in 5 years, faring worse than the average American. Many lack the experience, discipline, or knowledge to manage such windfalls, and their newfound abundance brings pressures and temptations that lead to reckless decision-making. Pablo Escobar was a Colombian drug lord who founded and led the Medellin cartel in the early 1970s, eventually controlling over 80% of the cocaine shipped to the United States. Born in 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia, into a modest family with a farmer father and a schoolteacher mother, Escobar grew into a society marked by economic inequality and limited legitimate opportunity. Though his family was not poor by Colombian standards, Escobar experienced a childhood where escaping poverty and gaining power required creativity and risk. From a young age, he showed an entrepreneurial spirit, engaging in petty crimes like selling fake diplomas, stealing and reselling tombstones, smuggling stereo equipment, and running contraband cigarettes. These were seemingly small, discreet acts, but crucially, they accumulated into a set of criminal skills, contacts, and capital. Escobar even briefly studied civil engineering and dreamed of becoming a lawyer or politician, but he left school early, partially influenced by the rebellious youth culture in the 1960s Colombia and the lure of quick gains from illicit trades. His gradual move into marijuana smuggling in the 1970s marked the first stage of accumulating both wealth and criminal expertise, laying the groundwork for the later cocaine empire that would dominate the 1980s. Escobar's Medellin cartel dominated the cocaine trade by establishing smuggling routes from South America to the US, and he used the strategy called plata o plomo, known as silver or lead, to bribe or assassinate officials who stood in his way. He became one of the richest and most powerful criminals in history, funding lavish estates such as the Hacienda Nápoles with exotic animals and luxury amenities. At his peak, Escobar earned approximately $420 million per week. The cash poured in so rapidly that he could not spend or launder it fast enough. He bought hundreds of properties, luxury vehicles, and even a private zoo, but still struggled to conceal and enjoy all his wealth. With banks unsafe and authorities tracking him, Escobar resorted to burying vast sums of money across Colombia. Some cash-filled barrels worth hundreds of millions have since been discovered by accident decades later. A significant portion of Escobar's buried cash simply disintegrated, destroyed by moisture, rats, and insects. It is estimated that 10% of all hidden stashes were lost each year for those reasons. As one account put it, Pablo had so much money that he could not possibly spend it all. He started to bury it all over Colombia. The locations of each money pit was known only by Pablo and his three closest associates. When Pablo was finally killed, the location of many of these money pits died with him. Despite his philanthropic efforts, public opinion turned against him as his cartel waged violent terror campaigns resulting in thousands of deaths and widespread corruption. In 1991, he surrendered to the authorities but escaped from a luxurious prison. In 1992, he was hunted by Colombian forces aided by the US and rival traffickers, and died in a rooftop gunfire in Medellin on December 2nd, 1993, one day after his 44th birthday. There are speculations that he may have committed suicide to avoid capture. As mentioned, when Pablo was finally killed, the location of many of these money pits that he built died with him. His death marked the collapse of the Medellin cartel, and his legacy remains controversial due to his profound impact on the global drug trade and Colombian society. Here are some key facts about Pablo Escobar. He controlled about 80% of the cocaine shipped to the United States at the height of his power and was worth an estimated $30 billion US, making him one of the richest criminals in history. Pablo used a ruthless strategy known as plata o plomo, also known as silver or lead, meaning officials could take a bribe or be killed. His cartel was responsible for thousands of deaths, including major bombings that killed innocent people. Before hiring professional pilots, Escobar personally flew small planes carrying cocaine hidden in tires. Skilled pilots employed by him could earn up to $500,000 US per flight smuggling tons of cocaine. He was known as a modern-day Robin Hood by some, as he gave generously to the poor, built sports facilities, schools, sponsored football teams in Medellin. At his death, around 25,000 people attended his funeral, many from the poor communities he helped. Escobar built an extravagant estate called Hacienda Nápoles that included a zoo with exotic animals like giraffes, elephants, hippos. Some of the hippos remain in Colombia to this day. Pablo once negotiated to pay off Colombia's $10 billion debt in exchange for immunity from extradition to the US. In 1991, Pablo surrendered to the authorities but was allowed to build his own luxurious prison, Cathedral, which had amenities like a waterfall, soccer field, sauna, and a nightclub. He continued running his cartel from there until he escaped in 1992. He feared extradition to the US so much that he reportedly said he would rather have a grave in Colombia than a jail cell in the United States. Some believe he died by suicide during the final gunfight with Colombian forces in 1993. Finally, an estimated 10% of Escobar's fortune was lost to rats who ate the cash. Escobar's life embodies the law of accumulation through these stages. His early petty crimes and smuggling were the initial tiny snowflakes of effort and risk. Each successful venture expanded his knowledge, connections, and resources. By the mid-1970s, Escobar was part of forming the Medellin cartel, steady accumulating power, capital, and control over the cocaine trade. Eventually, his weekly earnings climbed into hundreds of millions, making him one of the richest men in the world. However, just as accumulation built his empire, the same law foreshadowed its fragility. His hidden cash deteriorated when buried. Sudden arrivals of enormous money brought risk, corruption, and violent backlash that accelerated decay if unchecked. His story proves that small efforts, whether legal or illegal, compound over time, escalating into vast empires or catastrophic downfalls, depending on the context and sustainability. So, what can we learn from this? Wealth that is built over time, step by step, tends to have deeper roots and is less likely to be lost. as the builder has gained not only the resources, but also the skills to protect and grow them. Quick or illicit gains like Escobar's fortune or sudden lottery windfalls often collapse, whether through mismanagement, loss, or destruction. Accumulation is not just about gathering, it's about retaining, protecting, and putting to productive use of what you build. The law of accumulation is always at work, whether in accumulation or disintegration. Wealth, skills, even relationships can grow or decay according to the small choices and habits applied day after day. If you found this content useful, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching. Bye.